Shavua Tov. Hope you're doing well. Reaching out from across the ocean, sending our love and care. I wanted to share with you a quick thought that I shared with the community on this past Shabbat, Parshat Yitro, and let you know that we're thinking about you and we're sending love. Before I get to Parshat Yitro, I wanted to share with you something I've personally been struggling with over the last couple days. I got back from an extended trip to the West Coast, LA, San Diego, and one of the things I try to do, especially after coming home from a long trip, is to help my wife out with the kids as much as possible as soon as I land. So the alarm clock goes off to let me know it's 6 o'clock in Yerushalayim. That being said, my mind and heart are definitely still very much feeling West Coasty and are not exactly ready to bed. Nonetheless, the day after I got back, I pulled myself out of bed, and I had the distinct honor of getting my son Eitan up and dressed and out and walking him to God. And there we are walking down the street, and he's ahead of me, running down the road or running down the sidewalk, and he pulls up just short of the street at a corner. And then just as I get to him, a car pulls over. And thank God, as many of us with children in Yerushalayim have experienced, there are no shortage of people that know how to parent better than we do. And there are no shortage of people who are happy to share their advice and guidance in how much we're doing wrong and how much better we could be. And so this individual shared with me that she felt I should be holding my son's hand when I walk him to God. And I let her know that, I thanked her very much for her advice. We walk often, I often take him, and he knows to stop at the corner and not run into the street. And she said, yeah, but you don't know about other drivers, and maybe he could trip, and da-da-da-da-da. And I said thank you, and I was about to move on, and she launched into a 7 to 10 minute, dialogue she had prepared, or I guess monologue she had prepared, to let me know what I could do to be a better parent and how much I should care and what have you. And after the first 3 to 4 minutes, and I could tell she wasn't losing any steam, I semi-rudely, I guess, said thank you very much, cutting her off in the middle of what she was saying, and just continued to walk down the street with my son. And I was struggling with that because here's someone who, I don't want to be judgmental of, and I felt very badly being rude to her. And honestly, why should I be upset by someone who's trying or expressing care for my child? And that's been floating around in my mind the last couple days. And it led to an interesting read on this week's Parsha that I'd like to share with you. There are 3 primary questions I came across in this week's Parsha, Parshat Yitro, that I've been struggling with. The first has to do with names. Names are very interesting, and they come up throughout Tanakh with numerous explanations, which is kind of very neat. All kinds of different names, Reuven, Yehuda, all the Shvatim are named, Yaakov, we have explanations for his names. And we have the similar thing here in this week's Parsha, where Moshe is rejoined by his father-in-law. And he says, and I brought you back your 2 sons. One is named Gershom, and the other one Eliezer. And for both names, there's an explanation listed. For Gershom, the pasuk says, Ki amar ger hayiti ba'aretz nachriya. Because he said, I was a stranger who lived in a strange land. Therefore, he named his son Gershom. Now, that's interesting, but to me, the difficulty comes when we turn back to the beginning of Sefer Shemot and realize that in Perek Bet of Sefer Shemot, we had the exact same pasuk, word for word. Moshe Rabbeinu runs away from Egypt. He gets to Midian. He marries his wife Sipporah, and it says she gave him a son, and he named him Gershom, Ki amar ger hayiti ba'eretz nachriya. The exact same pasuk, because I was a stranger who lived in a strange land. Why does the Torah, out of nowhere, for the first time ever, reshare an explanation for someone's name? It never happened before. It never happened again. This one parsha, all of a sudden, for Moshe's son Gershom, we get his name again with the full explanation. Question 2. It's here. The moment of revelation, the thing we've been building to for the last 5 Parshiot, maybe the entire Torah, maybe all of the history of the world. God's about to reveal himself to the Jewish people, in fact, the world. And we take a little break for a family reunion. The Torah goes out of its way to insert this portion and say Yitro showed up with Moshe's wife and his kids. And not only that, but it takes us through this suggested judicial system that Yitro gives to Moshe. He sees him and he's judging all day long and everyone's waiting and he says, that's not good, the people can't handle that. You have to appoint captains of thousands and hundreds and tens. How about give us the moment of revelation? Let us connect with God. Have God hand over the Torah and say, okay, now that you have the Torah, here's how you apply it. Here's how you're going to judge it. Give us the judicial system after we know what the laws are. Why would you stop the buildup? The moment that we've all been waiting for. And insert this little seemingly non-necessity at this point, rather than just let us talk to God. It seems strange. Number 3. And this is totally opinion-based, and I'm sure there are people who feel differently than this. But at first glance, when reading through the 10 Commandments, each one of them is a fundamental, powerful statement about what Judaism is. Belief in one God, not to believe in graven images. Shmirat Shabbat and the opportunity to connect between man and God. Respect for one's elders, Kibud Ava'im, recognizing the history and tradition and where we come from and not looking down on that. Don't kill, don't steal, recognizing and reveling in the sanctity of a spousal commitment and not committing adultery. And then we get to lo tachmod, don't be jealous. And it's not that jealousy isn't important or not being jealous isn't important, because it is, and I think, it could be argued it's the source of why people do bad things and why they steal and why they kill. But you know what? It's not an action. As opposed to don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, we get this vague don't be jealous. And on top of that, the way it's phrased is actually really weird. If you saw a parent walking down the street with 2 kids, 2 boys, right? And one's holding an ice pop and he's got a fancy watch on him, he's got an iPhone that he's looking at, If the parent said to the older sibling or the other sibling, don't be jealous of your brother. I get it. Johnny, don't be jealous. Makes a lot of sense. You want to know how not to do that as a parent? Johnny, don't be jealous of your brother's ice pop, and don't be jealous of his watch, and don't be jealous of his iPhone, and his new sneakers, and the video game system we got him, and the car, and the nice TV, and the trip that he's going on. You want to know how to develop jealousy between siblings? You focus on every specific detail of every single little thing that he has that you don't, and that's a great way to develop jealousy between siblings. When we were talking about don't kill, the Torah says don't kill. When we're talking about don't steal, don't steal. All of a sudden we get to don't be jealous. And the Torah does something a little funny. It says lo tachmod beit reyacha. Don't be jealous of your friend's house. And don't be jealous of his wife. And don't be jealous of his servant, or his maidservant, or his donkey, or his ox, or anything else that belongs to him. What's the deal? That's exactly how to develop jealousy. Why would you say that? Why wouldn't the Torah just say, don't be jealous of your neighbor? When I was a senior in high school, I had an awesome opportunity to work at a place called the Kessler Institute for Rehabilitation, where we had individuals who were struggling with knee replacements or hip replacements or spinal injuries that they were coming back from. And it was a place where you literally saw people day in and day out fighting to figure out how to regain what they once had, the ability to move around and continue their lives. And I remember working with one of the therapists there, and a patient would come into the room, and this specific patient lied down on the mat and looked up at the therapist and said, "Listen, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not ready. I can't do this." And the therapist said, "Let's go. You can do it. Come on. I believe in you. You can do this. Just a little bit. Do a little bit today, and then we're done." And the guy said, "No, I'm telling you, I can't do this." And the therapist said, "Just lift your knee off the mat. Just bend your knee a little bit, just a tiny bit. Just put in some effort today." And the guy said, "I can't." And the therapist said, "Try one time. Try once." And the guy said, "Okay." And he tried to bend his knee, and he got it a little, maybe an inch and a half off the mat. And he dropped his leg back down to the mat and said, And the therapist said, "Great, good job. We'll pick up from here tomorrow." The next day I walk in, and a different patient is on the mat. And the therapist says, "Okay, and the guy cuts him off and says, 'Let's do this. I got this. I can lift up my leg. I'll be back walking in a week. You just watch out. You get out of my way. I got this.'" And he starts to try to lift his leg, and he's screaming and grunting, and he's pulling his leg. And the therapist says, "Calm down." And the guy gets it a little off the mat, and he drops like that. He goes, "No, I could do more. I could do better." And the therapist says, "Relax. Take it easy. Don't move too fast." "No, I got it." And the therapist stopped him and said, "You're done for the day. You did it. Good job. We'll pick up from here tomorrow." And after the guy left, I approached the therapist and I said, "I don't understand. Yesterday you're yelling at the guy. He's got to put in more effort. He's got to be more excited. He's got to try more. And today you're telling the guy to not try. Which one is it? Do we want them to be super motivated and inspired and excited? Or do we want them to be, calm and relaxed and slow and not try and not push themselves?" And what's the answer? The answer is both. The answer is you need to find balance. The Jewish people are told they're going to receive the Torah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu offers it to them, and their response is, "Naaseh v'nishma." We got this. Let's go. The Torah is ours. Let's do it. And that's beautiful. But the first thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe when he calls him up to Har Sinai is, "Go back down and tell the people not to run up the mountain." And Moshe says, "Yeah, no problem. You already told us. We built a barrier." And Hashem says, "Yeah, go back down and tell the people not to run up the mountain." They're going to get too excited. They're going to be too pumped, and they're going to run up, and it's too much for them. They can't handle it. And at the end, after they receive the Torah, in fact, they turn. And it says they stood from afar and they turned to Moshe and said, "Moshe, speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on our behalf, otherwise we're going to die." Well, Am Yisrael, which one is it? Is it Naaseh v'nishma, or is it I'm going to die? And the answer is balance. It's both. When we're confronted with picking up the Ol Malchut Shamayim, with picking up the Ol Mitzvot, the yoke of the mitzvot, it's a heavy burden. It's hard. It's not simple. No one will tell you that living Torah is going to be an easy life. It's going to be fulfilling. It's going to be meaningful, but it's going to be hard. So how do we find that balance? How do you keep yourself from falling off to one side and being too passionate and too excited and running head on into something you can't handle? And on the other side, making sure no one feels crushed by the burden of what mitzvot and Torah stands for in the world. Humbly, I would suggest that what allows us to do that is community. The mitzvah of lo tachmod, of not being jealous, comes just after we're told all the other don't do's. Don't steal, don't kill, don't commit adultery, don't bear false witness. You know what? Okay. The easiest way not to hurt anyone else is to stay away. Back up. Don't go near anyone. If I live by myself, you know how likely I am to kill someone if I'm 4,000 miles from the next person? Minimal. And yet, that doesn't work. Because the Torah needs us to be with each other. Before we receive the Torah goes out of its way to let us know the judicial system is not just one isolated leader at the top who's separate from the community. But it's the people around you. It's the captains of thousands and hundreds and even tens, where you can turn to the person sitting next to you and say, listen, I don't know what to do. I need help. We can look around the room, we can look around the community and reach out to each other for support, for guidance. Lo tachmod, don't be jealous, is not a simplistic don't be jealous. Because you're going to see the person's house, and you're going to see the wife, and the servant, and the maidservant, and the donkey, and the ox, because you're going to be involved and invested in people's lives. But don't let jealousy start tearing you apart. Because at that point, when you start feeling that jealousy, you can't receive that guidance. You can't receive the help. You start justifying, oh, well, he said that because he has this, and he's in this situation, and he's better off, da-da-da-da. No. Don't let that become a pitfall. Gershom's name is repeated, and the explanation is repeated because there's a change that happens. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he first names Gershom, he says, Ger hayiti be'eretz dachriya. I'm a stranger living in a strange land. Why is he a stranger? Easy. Because he's in Midian. Where does he belong? He belongs in Mitzrayim. That's where he grew up. But by Parshat Yitro, that's not true anymore. Moshe Rabbeinu has gone through the 10 Makot, and he's gone through Yam Suf, and he's gone through all of this with the Jewish people. And he realizes, Ger hayiti be'eretz nochriya. I was a stranger living in a strange land. When was I a stranger? Not just in Midian. When I was in Egypt. When I was in Egypt, I was already a stranger in a strange land because this is my family. This is my community. This is where I belong amongst the Jewish people. And that's why this is the first time we get Eliezer. And Eliezer's name, the God of my father, was the one who saved me. Because he knows who his father is. He realizes where he belongs now. He's part of this. He's part of all of us now. The completion of Parshat Yitro, it ends with a seeming non sequitur. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pipes up and says, by the way, if you want to bring a korban, this is the type of mizbeach, this is the type of altar you should use. Not one of stones cut into pieces, separate from each other. Not one that has different levels of steps, that's going to expose the differences in the nakedness, the uncomfortableness of who you are versus me. No. The way you serve me is one continuous, contiguous whole. A structure made up of lots of little pebbles and stones and dirt and rocks that has formed one whole unity. That's how we serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We come together as a congregation, as a community, as a nation. I guess at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that it's great to be home. It's great to be back here amongst community, amongst friends, amongst family. Even if every now and then they pull over and they tell you how to parent your kids because they know better than you do. Look around you and recognize that we're not just here to daven together. We're not just here to approach God together. We're here for each other. Each and every single one of us is there to tell you when you're not doing enough, or maybe to pull you back when you get a little bit too close to the edge. Each and every single one of us is there to be a voice of reason, a voice of guidance, and a voice of support for each and every other. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom. Or Shavua Tov.